start recording. And Juno, I'm gonna pull up the slide deck. And, all right, is that sharing correctly for everyone?
Looks good to me.
Awesome. I will turn it over to you and move to the background.
All right, lovely. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our CoC community meeting, topic being youth homelessness. And this just a little bit of introduction about what we're doing here today. These quarterly meetings are a place for anyone in the community, but primarily and especially people with lived experience to come learn from each other, to share their experiences and what we've picked up, maybe new knowledge over the past quarter, and provide input on specific topics that are usually related around an overlapping topic, which, as I mentioned earlier, is this quarter is youth homelessness. So as we get into it, I'll just give a brief introduction of myself. I'm Renee Juno Hedrick. My pronouns are they, them, and she, her, and I am the chair in the Council of Homelessness, as well as a lived experience advisor. We have a lot of participants here today, and some people are still rolling in. So feel free to put into the chat your name, your pronouns, if you'd like, your organization you're affiliated with, and you can say how you're doing today or anything like that too, just so we can see everybody and make connections. So with that, to help us get more grounded and understand who's in the room with each other, we are going to do a quick poll to just kind of ground ourselves a little bit. And so if most people should see if the functionality is working properly, a poll that just popped up on the screen. This is going to be one of a few questions we'll ask. Feel free to answer or not answer any of these questions as you are comfortable. And if you'd like to answer something that's not listed, feel free to put it in the chat if you're comfortable. So the first question is, what part of the county do you live/stay in?
And Juno, I'm going to let you tell me when to close it and show it.
Okay. I think this one's probably an easy one, so we can probably close this and show our results. And it looks like majority of us are from East County, and there's an equal split of us in Central and West County. Not much representation from South County today, not yet at least, as people continue to trickle in, and quite a few people from outside of Contra Costa. And thanks for joining us today in our community meeting. And we'll move on to question number 2. And this question is, do you have lived experience of homelessness? Okay, let's go ahead and close this one.
Shelby, are you logged in as you or are you logged in as CoC?
I'm logged in as me.
Somebody just joined.
Sorry, that was me, and I don't know why it's.
Oh, okay. Mary, do you mind?
Yes, I'll leave.
Log out, and you have to sign out of CoC and log in as yourself.
Okay. Goodbye.
It just took over my polling.
Sorry, guys. Oh my God. I'm sorry. Goodbye. Going away.
This happens to us all the time. Okay, hold on. We're gonna try this again.
The intricacies of tech.
Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. Let me try the
Blessing and a
again.
curse.
Oh no, my polling session isn't active.
Here, I can end the poll, Jamie.
Do you have the capacity?
Yeah.
No, I'm helpless.
Okay.
Jamie, you're definitely not helpless. Okay, and it looks like 63% of people say they do not have lived experience of homelessness and 37% do. So it's good to be aware of this as we're moving forward and doing our work together today. This is who we're doing our work with.
Shelby, do
Yeah.
you have the ability to launch the next one? Because I now am completely locked out from polling.
Let me see if I can do that.
Thank you, Shelby.
Oh no. Okay, I got it. I can do this.
Thank you. So it's the third one is about racial identity.
It looks like the question that we're
this right?
receiving is the percentage of TAE in system.
Oh yeah,
poll
not that
question.
one. Sorry, there should be a different one that's about racial identity.
Hold please.
There's always something. I know
Sorry,
it's
go.
2023, but
Perfect. This is the one.
okay, great. Thank you.
Question number 3, what best describes your race/ethnicity? And if you don't see your race or ethnicity listed here, feel free to put it in the chat.
Can I come off of mute real quick with this? Because I've recently, this is Joe Bruno, by the way. I had a conversation with somebody about this, not particularly this question from this group, but the question of race and how people identify. And I think we might want to have a conversation around what race means. Like, as far as me personally, like, do I identify? Of course I identify as white, but that's what society has told me to identify as. If I were to like really look at who I am Italian, Puerto Rican, Sicilian. So where does that, of course, is going to fall under white. However, my great grandmother died in a concentration camp. So that really makes me a person of color as far as I'm concerned, as far as my ancestors are concerned. So I don't know. I just wonder how involved we want to get with that identity factor.
Yeah,
so that's
Joe,
all
always appreciate your input. I think that's something, that's the lovely part about these polls is, well, we can't encompass all racial identities and ethnicities onto the poll itself. You're always welcome to identify yourself however you'd like in the chat. And I think that's something to maybe continue to discuss in Equity Committee in the future.
I want to make a quick plug that we have a training about equity, which will include conversations about race and racial identity coming up in July. So we'll drop a link to that training later on.
Okay, and I believe everybody can see the results. I'm not gonna read them out because this is normally the longest one, but it's just good to know who else is in the room with us and take stock of that. And thanks everybody for doing that quick poll and grounding together. So now we're going to be moving on to our next agenda item, which is discussing a little bit about why we're here. And I'm going to hand it over to Carolyn Miller to...
hold on one second, actually. First, we're going to have Shelby, if you can, I don't know if you have the capacity to launch the next poll.
This is the poll question from earlier.
This is a poll question. And I'll flag, I actually can handle the next couple slides, and then Caroline, I'll let you know when it's your turn.
Perfect. Okay, so here's another poll question for y'all. One last surprise question. And the question is, transition age youth, which is age 18 to 24, make up of what % of the population using homeless services in Contra Costa County? And of course, out of county attendees, you don't have to guess. But if you would like to answer, you're free to do so. Okay, I think we can show results here. So it looks like the majority of people believe the makeup of transition age youth in Contra Costa County is 8%. Sorry, 16%. Next being 8%. Next highest being 23%, and 5% of us believe 1%. And I think we're going to hear a bit more about that
Yeah.
now from Jamie.
Thanks, Juno. Thank you, everybody. So what I'll say about this data is this is data that we have been able to capture. So this is what we know. This is not necessarily exactly what's happening on the ground, but it's the best data we have. So according to the data that we have for our system of care, in 2021, and we're getting ready with our next annual report, in 2021, we about 8% of all the people that were accessing services in our homeless system of care in our county were what we call transition aged youth. And I'll just note, like for today, when we're talking about minor or youth, we don't have very many unaccompanied minors in our system of care. So we don't, when we see that minors number, almost all of those young people are in families with an adult or guardian. So a lot of what we're going to talk about today is transition aged youth services, but there are unaccompanied minors in our system. The numbers are so small of what we can capture that they're not shown here. So just a caveat about that. So about 8% is what we know. We also have data around like the trend, right? So like, are those numbers going up or down? If we look from 2019 to 2021, you can see, so there's been about a 9% increase over 3 years, just for this age group. So you can see a lot of other populations, the numbers went down. But for transition aged youth from 2019 to 2021, the population went up a little bit. And then one of the other things we can look at is like, okay, well, by age group, what are the most popular services that people are using? So prevention diversion, so that's the green bar. That's like for folks that are at risk, they're not necessarily literally homeless yet, or they're not, necessarily using shelter services. So kind of at that beginning of the experience. So about 14% of the transition age youth that we saw were using sort of that prevention diversion. You'll hear a little bit more about that in a minute. The majority, about 79%, were using what we would call crisis response. So that's like core mobile outreach, that's shelter services, that might be a drop-in care center. So they've already experienced homelessness, they're seeking some sort of emergency service. And then about 7% were in some type of housing program. So we'll talk more about that, but just so you have a like thumbnail sketch of a little bit of the data. And again, this is just what we're really looking at right now is transition age youth, so ages 18 to 24. And these young people can use the adult services. So some of these folks may be in adult shelters, not just some of our youth programs, but as a population in that age group, this is what we're seeing. Any questions about the data? I didn't want to like bombard you with a huge ton of data, especially because we're going to have our annual report coming out soon, a little more data coming out. So this is from 2021.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Hi, I'm Norma with the Big Compassion. My question is, I know we're talking about 18 to 24 in transition. Are they tracked before they hit that? Are they tracked through high school? Are they tracked through middle school?
That's an excellent question. And you know what I'm realizing? So you just highlighted something that we completely missed when we were talking about services. And I don't know if anybody's here from the Contra Costa Office of Education. So there are programs through the school districts that are identifying young people and their families, either young people in families or young people on their own. And there are some services available through the school districts. But also a lot of these young people, they may have become homeless when they were under 18 and are now living on their own. But when they were under 18, we'd call them an unaccompanied minor. And then they move into this different category when they turn 18. Is that clear as mud?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Any other questions about the data? Okay, and I'm just checking the chat. I don't think I see any. Okay, great. Oh, Gina's here. Gina, is there anything? Gina Bills is here from the Office of Ed. I don't know if there's anything you want to say about sort of the school districts and for students that are still in like K through 12. not to put you on the spot.
No problem. Hi, everyone. Jamie, I think you pretty much covered it. Just as a friendly reminder, all 18 school districts have a foster youth and homeless education liaison on site. And then some individual school sites have their own liaison as well. So as it pertains to both unaccompanied youth and McKinney-Vento students, they can identify the liaison and then get resources and information in place to make sure that they're accommodated.
Gina, what's a McKinney-Vento student?
Sorry, guys. They fall under the McKinney-Vento law and identified as homeless. So just lacking fixed, regular, and adequate housing.
Right, and McKinney-Vento is a funding source, a federal funding source. So when you hear that language, and that is also the law that sets some rules around like what's officially homeless and what's not, which can determine what people can have access to. And like that's a whole separate presentation. Happy to answer questions about that later. But thank you, Gina. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Anybody else have questions about the data? Okay, I'm gonna turn things over to my colleague Caroline, who can talk a little bit about why we're having this conversation now, and what we might be doing with some of the stuff that comes out of this meeting today.
Perfect. Thank you, Jamie. So yes, I'm Caroline Miller, newer staff to H3. And so yes, why are we here? We just kind of reviewed some snapshot data and wanted to share just some recent activities that H3 and partners are doing to address youth homelessness here. So H3 and Contra Costa are part of a 3-year, $16 million youth homelessness project through Tipping Point Community. The project really aims to catalyze significant change in our systems of care that serve transitional age youth who are currently homeless or at risk of experiencing homelessness. H3 and Contra Costa, we are one of 6 Bay Area counties and communities that are participating in this project, along with our local community partners. So our current partners involved in this project include RISE, Rainbow Community Center, HOPE, and John Burton Advocates for Youth. So Tipping Point, with the support of Tipping Point and kind of improving our system of care for young people, this is going to include some pilot projects and also helping us plan to put forth a strong application for HUD's Youth Homelessness Demonstration Project in the next year. So this is, you'll see a lot more information and kind of coming out in the next year. And it's just good to see some familiar faces and names that are involved in this right now. And for those of us that aren't familiar with the Youth Homelessness Demonstration Project, it is a federal project. It is a rigorous application process. And I think most notably requires authentic youth leadership, especially among young people who have experienced homelessness. So looking forward to kind of connecting, and this is why we're here.
Thanks, Caroline. And part of why she's talking about this is she's helping lead a lot of the work around assessing how do we get ready to apply for YHDP as a community, because we've done it in the past and got feedback that we needed to do some more things, and so we're really gearing up so that we could be prepared for that. All right, Juno, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Thank you, Jamie. And we'll move right on to our next agenda item. We're going to be hearing a bit from the Youth Action Council. I think I'll hand it over to Tamra and the rest of the council, Youth Action Council members who are in attendance.
Unmute first. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tamara Diaz. I have been a case manager and a Youth Action Council leader for almost 6 years now for CCYCS. I have with me 3 of my counterparts today, 2 lead Action Council members, one Corey Simmons and one Majestic Shaw, and they'll be speaking to you in a little bit more about what the Youth Action Council does. CCYCS as a whole, we have in the past run a drop center, which we look forward to restarting. We also run 2 transitional living programs and Cali House Youth Shelter, which me and Lucy will be talking about in just a moment. CCYCS's mission is to successfully integrate homeless and runaway youth back into the community with the skills and resources and community network necessary to achieve and maintain a better quality of life. CCYCS operates with the philosophy that every young person has the ability to make good choices for themselves when provided with gentle guidance, support, and positive opportunities. Next. Lucy, the program coordinator, will be talking about Cali House.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lucinda Cuellar. I am the program coordinator for CCYCS. I oversee all 3 programs, which is Cali House Youth Shelter, Enrichment, Mary McGarvin Transitional Living Housing Program in Concord, and the Pomona Apartments in Crockett. Cali House is an emergency housing on a month-to-month basis for ages 8 to 24, and we serve up to 15 youth. It offers case management, housing, employment, education, and public benefits, also life skills, education, healthcare, mental health, service learning projects, and recreational opportunities and yearly community barbecues. And also, Mary McGarvin, next slide. Mary McGarvin House, it's in Concord, and it's our transitional living program. Youth can stay there up to 24 months, and it's for ages 18 to 24, and it's a 5-bedroom single home, and it serves up to 13 youth. We have staff 24/7. We also work with youth on the rent savings program, where they save 30% of their income, and we put on a savings account, and whenever the youth is ready to transition, we give their money back, and sometimes they leave up to $10,000 if they stay the 24 months. Excuse me. And so we also offer case management, including a housing navigator, employment, education, and public benefits. Also, we offer life skills education, healthcare, mental health, and legal clinics. Tamara?
Lastly, we have Pomona Apartments, which is our independent living service program for transitional housing for ages 18 to 24 for up to 24 months. This is a complex made up of 4 different buildings. We have 2 2-bedroom, 3 units. We have 3-bedroom, 2 of those, and then we have a 1-bedroom unit for a family, a single parent. We house up to 13 clients here. It's an independent living program, so about after 5 o'clock, I'm no longer here, and they are expected to be able to live independently, buy their own food. They don't get as many services as our other programs provide. And we really move them on from here to go into permanent housing, whatever that may look like. So whether that's we've sent youth to out of state to state universities, we've sent youth to different states to reunify with family, as well as we've permanently housed folks with rapid rehousing. Shout out to you guys. And Permanent Connections, which is our sister program. I'm the case manager at Pomona Apartments, so I assist directly with their housing, their employment, their education, and any benefits that they may need if they don't already have them, as well as I teach them life skills, living with other people. It's a thing, guys. Healthcare, mental health, and also help provide legal clinics when necessary.
I know this was a shocker. Sorry, I didn't tell you I put this in there, but maybe you could just say a few words.
I got it. So in the last 2 years, we've actually been able to, which is unheard of, because Permanent Connections is our sister program for youth that have disabilities from the ages of 18 to 25. They almost never have spots because it's a lifetime program. So they are provided housing. They have to pay 30% of their rent and to stay in their own apartment. And so they almost never get spots open, but I have successfully gotten 2 people into this program in the last year and this year. So I'm really grateful to them. Shout out to Faith, who is the best case manager ever. And they provide supportive services for the rest of these young people's lives that do really suffer from mental health disabilities or just regular physical disabilities as well. They're really great programs, really hard to get spots available. And without further ado, I will be introducing our Youth Action Council speakers, Mr. Corey Simmons and Mr. Majestic Shaw.
Hello, my name is Corey Simmons.
Next slide.
I'm a previous client of Cali House and a alumni of Pomona Apartments. Who we are CCYSS participants, alumni who are dedicated to advocacy and leadership. What we do, we serve as a unified voice representing CCYSS youth by acting as liaisons between clients and staff. The council's goal is to support a positive client experience at CCYCS and participate in community events that directly impact youth experiencing homelessness in Contra Costa County.
And this is Mr. Majestic Shaw.
Hello, my name is Majestic Shaw, and I'm also part of the Youth Action Council. Our vision is to empower youth, provide opportunities for positive youth development, youth choice, confidence building, and leadership. Our activities include services learning projects, outreach in our local community, helping construct and conduct the first youth PIT count, as well as the adult PIT count, lunches for homeless encampments, donated to local churches, spoke to local youth about our services, how they can get involved, and lobby 2 years in a row for more funds for homeless youth.
Next slide. Okay, so some of our partners that we've partnered with for years and years, including for educational reasons, a lot of educational reasons. So we've partnered with GED programs and high school programs, including LEAP, to help get our youth their GEDs, or CCC, which also helps with just direct high school. We also partner with the Office of Education to help get them into programs like WIOA to get them either work experience or education, get their GED, you know. We also work with vocational programs like Europe, the Department of Rehabilitation, Job Corps, and California Conservation Corps in order to either get kids housed and education, or get youth set up with employment experience. We also work with CCYCS internship opportunities that are available. We've had interns from St. Mary's College. We also get interns from CCC, from the Spirit program, that come in and get real life work experience with counseling and helping consumers that are in our program. Next slide. Lastly, we will talk about a success story of a young man that has allowed me to talk about him. I have, again, had the privilege to work in this field for the last 6 years. I have had the privilege of seeing many youth often to be independent and permanently housed. And I love those phone calls that I get every once in a while, but Corey Simmons is one that stands out for me. And he is also an alumni, and yes, a Youth Action Council member, so he's a little embarrassed right now. But this young man came to us many years ago at Cali House. He worked really diligently hard to make sure that he got employed, even though he thought he couldn't. And one of the biggest things I ever taught him was, you can. I don't want to hear you can't. So eventually he did so well at Cali House that he graduated straight to Pomona, which does not happen very often, because again, Pomona is a very independent program. You have to be able to stand on your own 2 feet up here, with assistance from myself, of course. So Corey Simmons did really well here. He got into rapid rehousing with BACS, and eventually was able to, he went through the DOR program. He was able to go to barber school, and they paid for all of that. And then eventually he went off and was able to find his very own studio apartment, and is now living very independently on his own and still advocating for homeless youth like he was. So I'm very proud of him, and a round of applause for him, if anybody. The very young, he's a very good young man that has come a long way, and I'm very proud of all his success. So with that being said, that's my success story for the day. And then the slides are no longer up. So.
Oh, yes, let me just, I think that's it in terms of slides, but I just wanted to take a moment and see, and you know, are there questions that folks have? We're going to talk more about some of the other services, but questions that people have around Any of these services just described. Shelby put a link in the chat about sort of how to access some of this. And I see Mary has her hand up.
Hi guys, Mary here. So also, partners with you all. So I guess my question is about Pomona. If you could tell us about how placement for Pomona happens.
There was one thing that I missed. Our transitional living programs are not like other transitional living programs in the area. We have the only youth shelter in all of Contra Costa, as you know, and Contra Costa is the site of Rhode Island. So we are, and that's only 15 youth we could house there, right? So then we have our transitional living programs, which are not only for former foster care youth, which I'm very, very proud of. We also just take straight up homeless youth. So most of the time, a straight up homeless youth will go through Cali House. And once they get on their feet and we settle all their crisis needs, whether that be mental health, stabilizing their mental health, getting them legal services, breaking down barriers to employment and education, we do all that crisis work, ideally within 4 months, but we are by a month-by-month basis now. Then if we have a space available in either one of our programs, depending on their needs, we will move them to one of our programs. We also get outside resources. So CORE has applied. We have an application that I can get to Jamie and she can send out. Those applications usually get sent to myself from one of my bosses, and then we go through an interview process. A lot of times that is ILSP that does refer outside to us, but it's not abnormal for us to get an outside referral from CORE or Hope Solutions or any other agency for that matter. Trinity Center, we also get, so we get a lot of those referrals from you guys. And if we have space, so it's all about if we have space, right? Because the first transitional program that is 24/7 supervised and staffed is Mary McGovern. And then Pomona is not staffed. So, and both of those programs only hold 13 youth for up to 2 years. And we try to move them on as fast as soon as they are capable of being independent, but that doesn't, with the housing market and the way it is, it can be proven difficult to do sometimes. So, and then went through that interview process, like, I'm going to be very honest, like, we decide where after speaking, doing background checks with you guys, whoever refers to us, and seeing what their story is, whether they're a former foster care youth or not, like, we want to know, like, what does this youth really need to be successful? And then we decide which program that they should start in if we have the space and availability. And then anytime that I get a space up here at Pomona, I'm always looking to MMG to see if somebody is ready to level up, right? And then Cali House, traditionally, we like to go to Mary McGovern because you're in crisis at Cali, right? So then we look at Cali, who's a good fit for Mary McGovern? Who can we level up? And then we continue to try to level them up. It's very far and few in between that a Cali House youth will go directly to Pomona. But it happens. We call those guys all-stars. So they're just on it, like they want to get out of this. And so we just move them up to Pomona after still an interview process. Even the Cali kids and the Mary McGovern kids have to go through a interview process. Does that make sense? That was a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'll send the application to Jamie, and she can send it to you guys with the recording of all of this, and then you guys will have the resource.
And Juno, I'm going to turn the facilitation back over to you. Sorry, I just totally took over. There are 2 questions in the chat.
Lovely. So for one of the questions from Hope Dixon, they say, I have called Cali House for clients to be timed. So far, haven't gotten an opening. Can you say an estimate of how long the wait list is?
So because we're on a month-to-month basis, I'll let Lucy elaborate on that. I'm no longer at Cali House very often, but because we're on a month-to-month basis, it just depends. We can have a space tomorrow. So it's important that you diligently keep calling. We fill up pretty fast. And again, like, it's only 15 beds and it's raining today. So our shelter is probably packed right now. Lucy, is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, because it's a month-to-month basis now, it's so unpredictable. We can have like a space today and then somebody would call the same day, that would take them in, then the next day we full, and it's just literally you guys have to call like every day just to make sure that we have an opening, because we get openings. It could be from 1 week we can have 3 openings, and then we full for 2 months, 3 months. So yeah, because it's only 15 beds.
And another question from Rachel Rosekind. Are there any partnerships with the county library or specific branches?
I'm not sure of any partnerships with the county library itself. I know a lot of youth are going to the library and doing their, job searches. That's a requirement at Cali House, is they have a productive activity to do to move towards independency. A lot of times we partner with Richmond Works or the Lau Center as well, for employment education help, also to connect to WIOA, etc.
Okay, thank you. And it looks like the last question from the chat. Do you serve youth with children?
Cali House cannot accept children. We can't accept anybody under the ages of 18. Neither can Mary McGovern. Pomona is the only program in our system of care that has a single parent unit, not a family unit. And that unit, as you can imagine, because we only have one, is quite often filled. And it fills up really, really quick. So I actually have someone on the waiting list right now as I'm waiting to rapidly rehouse the person I have.
Looks like that's all the questions. Thank you, Tamara, and thank you, Lucy. I know that you won't sing your own praises, but I'll sing both your praises a bit, having been through program and graduated myself. And yeah, definitely wouldn't be where I am without both of y'all's assistance. So love y'all.
Love you too, Juno.
Okay, thanks everybody. We'll move on to our next agenda item. And we're going to be hearing from Sandra Rivers from Hope Solutions, who's going to be talking a bit to us about prevention and diversion.
And actually, maybe it's going to be Jennifer.
I was just about to say, I'm going to pass it to Jennifer and then it'll come back to me.
Sorry about that, Sandra Rivera. We'll move on to Jennifer first. Take it away, Jennifer.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Duncanson. I am the Rapid Rehousing Manager for Hope Solutions. And this is the TAY Security Fund. So with this fund, it only serves youth 18 to 21. And the youth have to have already found their housing to be referred to this program. We don't have the team or the capacity to help them search for the housing. So they already have to have identified it and have already been approved for the housing. And then I receive a referral, submit the paperwork, and we pretty much get that out as soon as possible. We help with deposits, rent, utilities. I know we've helped a couple of youth who moved out of the state. We've helped with luggage, utilities, everything like that. And each youth gets up to $10,000. Once that money is gone, there are no more spots available. And we really went to the penny this month. Shelby was like, how much more do we have? I'm like, Shelby, we're done. So it goes pretty quick. It starts off kind of slow. We don't have a lot of people coming through. But once we hit towards the end, it's like, bam, that money is gone. It is very useful, helping with some TAY that come through this for the security fund.
Thank you, Jennifer. I think, Sandra, are you going to take it away at this point?
Not Sandra, actually, sorry. I know, sorry, Juno. We've got Samantha, I think Samantha and Christy, but one of you is out sick and I can't remember who. So it's either Samantha or Christy.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Hi, I'm Samantha. My partner Christy is out today, unfortunately, but I can hold it down for today. So I am the case manager for the TAY program for core homeless outreach. So we help 18 to 24-year-olds. We do help families as well. But as for core, we do shelter referrals. We can help clients get into detox and programs. We can also help them connect to their benefits, as in like GA, food stamps, medical, SSI, getting their social security cards and certain like documents, as in like proof of income and birth certificates. So whenever housing does become available, they're ready and they're good to go. We can help them with job searching, credit help. We also have a phone program, so we can help clients that we might need to get a hold of for certain, or they might need a phone for certain appointments. We can help them fill out housing applications. We do help with case management. We can help with family reunification. We also help clients that are AB 109. We can link them to coordinated entry, and we also help former foster youth for THP plus as well.
And I just want to say, so for AB 109, those are folks re-entering after incarceration.
Yes.
I'm familiar with that. Awesome.
And I'll leave my email in the chat just in case anyone has any other questions or has a youth in mind that might be good for our program.
And I'll mention can you just say a little bit about how people access your team?
Yeah. So for core specifically, we have all of our clients call 211 option 3. That's to get a hold of our dispatch, and then our dispatch would dispatch the clients out to certain teams. Let's say that we have someone that's not a TAY, but that is a homeless individual in Contra Costa, some part, like let's say Pittsburgh. They would be dispatched to the Pittsburgh team, but all transitional age youth go to me and Christy.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And at this point, I think we're going to move on to our next agenda item, which is TAY rapid rehousing. And this time, I think we will be hearing from Sandra Rivera.
Thank you. Yes, now it's my turn. Hi, everyone. My name is Sandra. I am the Education and Employment Specialist with the TAY Rapid Rehousing Program with Hope Solutions. Our program serves 18 to 25-year-olds, and our program is up to 24 months. And we provide a wraparound service. So our team consists of a case manager, a housing navigator, and an education and employment specialist. We really provide very individualized plan for all of the youth that we work with. So everyone kind of comes in at a different stage. And so we all just meet them where they're at. I will say that like in the last year, since the education employment specialist role now exists in this program, we do very much encourage and motivate the youth to take advantage of them investing and going to vocational schools, because as we all might know, that obviously how much we make is really important and dependent on like what we can afford, especially for housing, living in the Bay Area. So I just wanted to read off some numbers based on like our current caseload. So about 55% of the youth that we work with right now are enrolled in a higher education program. So either vocational school or a trade program. 11% of the youth are enrolled in preparing to obtain their GED. So kind of a big percentage, and we're really, really encouraging that for the youth, just so that they can, you know, really invest in after exiting program, have a stable job and like career paths and job security, because like I said, the program is only up to 24 months. So we do have like an education incentive. So it also encourages the youth to, you know, go to school and really invest in themselves. And I think just a big part of the program is to remove barriers and help them become independent. So we're really just working towards either helping them find childcare or figuring out transportation, life skills, right? Helping them connect with landlords and what that all looks like. A lot of the youth that we work with, it's their first time for a lot of things, renting, opening a bank account, setting up BG&E. So it's just a lot of support in that way that we provide. So yeah, that's basically the overall view of the program that we provide at Hope Solutions.
Thank you. And just a reminder, so placements for this typically happen through our coordinated entry system. We'll drop a link in the chat out. If you have no idea what that means, we don't have time to talk through the whole thing, but we can send you a connection to some more information about coordinated entry. So, oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Sandra. I was just gonna thank Sandra. And anything else before we move on, Jamie?
No, I was just gonna highlight. So this is kind of what we have now in our homeless system of care. And so I want you to be thinking like, where are the gaps? Because we're gonna get to that piece in a little bit. And if you have questions about any of this, how to access things, I'll put our email in there, and you can always reach out to me and I can connect you, or folks can connect to each other in the chat.
All right, back to me. Before we get started, I see a question from Hope, and it may be for Hope Solutions Rapid Rehousing, but if students are already in school, does that make being in your program or eligible for your program easier or harder, or does it matter?
I would say it doesn't really matter. Or are they over 18? Like, are they in high school, or if you could just clarification on that?
Hope, I don't know if you're available, but I know Hope is at one of our local community colleges. So she's saying college age, so over 18 or 18 and over.
Definitely not. Like I said, like we really do encourage like the youth that we work with to attend college or whatever program that they're interested in. And so with our program, if they're housed, there is like a housing subsidy attached to it. So if they're in school, we kind of support as we go, and we kind of take it month by month, depending whether they're working part-time or full-time or what that looks like. So like I said, it's very like case by case and like independent to each client, but I wouldn't say it's a barrier. If anything, like we encourage it.
All right, thank you. I don't know if there's any other questions for Sandra around rapid rehousing. Okay, we'll move on. All right, so this next slide includes external partners across just key sectors that work with young people that are at risk of or experiencing homelessness. So you could take a look at that. We have LGBTQI, mental health, employment, education, runaway and homeless youth programs, transitional housing, and advocacy. It's in no way intended to be an exhaustive list. I think it just rather highlights a lot of the organizations that H3 currently partners with or frequently refers young people to. So I'll let everyone kind of just take a look at this list, because this is going to lead us into our next activity to discuss like who's missing, what's missing, as we kind of think out to the next year and kind of our long-term planning to look at our capacity and gaps and improve our system of care. I'm sure there's some missing.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm actually putting the Jamboard link.
Okay.
So hold on one second. So I'm going to actually stop sharing this, and I'm going to start sharing. See if I can do this. Well, please. Windows open. Sorry, give me 1 second. So you can, if folks haven't used a Jamboard before, you basically can click on the link that I put in the chat, and there's going to be a place where we can put essentially like Post-it notes kind of in an area. I'm just trying to, there we go. Okay. So you can either put them in the chat, or you can, if you can see my screen now, this little thing that looks like a Post-it, if you click on that, you can write a note. And then you click save and you can just move it anywhere you want. So anybody that's in this group can go in, who are we missing? And it's okay if you don't remember who was on there. You can just put in whoever you think we might be missing around sort of the world of youth providers, maybe not just homeless services, but beyond. And part of what's going to happen is, I think Caroline in particular is going to be taking note, because she's compiling a big list of youth resources and providers and partners. Joe, I see your question. Will we have access to the Jamboard after the meeting? That's a good question. I think so. Yes, we can add things.
And I think there's a way to save the Jamboard as a file to your computer as well. If you're on the computer, I think you can save it as a PDF or a PNG.
You're fancy. I don't know how to do that.
I can help with that, Jamie.
You're also fancy. Awesome. Great. Yeah, I'm seeing great providers, so they might not be explicitly about serving TAY, but they do serve this population. Rubicon in there a few times. It's awesome. Safe Return, Reentry Success Center. If you don't know how to use Jamboard or can't do it, you can also put stuff in the chat and we'll add it. Oh, I see a good question in the chat. Okay, Meds Coalition. Juno, can you highlight the question from Yesenia? I'm gonna make a new note.
Sure. Yeah. So Yesenia's question is, when you send us the resource list, can you please add what area they service? I feel that we do not have enough resources in the Far East, Contra Costa, Brentwood, Oakley.
The other thing I'll mention, so 211 is one of the primary ways that we connect people to all kinds of services, homeless services, housing, food, education. So we are not going to be generating like, here's a resource list of everybody that serves TAY. I would strongly encourage folks to reach out to 211. So you can either call them, you can go online, and there are staff that can help you do searches for specific things. So sometimes, like I sometimes find their website a little overwhelming. But if you have a specific need of something in East Contra Costa County, in Far East that serves transition-aged youth or these kinds of services, 211 actually has paid staff that are constantly updating the website so that we don't all have individual resources. So just wanted to name that as a place to start right now. Thank you, Shelby.
Looks like we're seeing some resources in the chat as well. Rice Center, I see Rice Center up on the Jamboard.
And we can leave this up, and as we're going, people can keep adding things to it. We'll just we can move on to the next piece.
And if you'd like to, you can feel free to make a separate. I'm not sure if they have editing privileges from notes that are already taken, but you can feel free to make a separate note to say what part of the county that you service, that program services. Okay, so next we're going to be moving on to a small group discussion that's going to be led here and started by Jamie J. Take it away, Jamie.
Thanks, Juno. So we're moving now. We did a lot of like information at you guys, and what we want to do now is get information, input, insights from you. So we're going to break out into breakout groups. And we have, I think I might do, well, let me explain what we're going to do and then I'll tell you how many we're going to have. So we're going to break you into groups and we're going to have about half an hour. And we're going to ask you, so like on that Jamboard, we have a place for you to think about. So for 10 minutes, we're going to say, okay, for 10 minutes, think about special populations. And this could mean LGBTQI, this could mean transition aged youth that are disabled, foster youth, parenting, BIPOC, justice system involved. There's sort of all these different slices, right? So if you're thinking about special populations and what different special populations might need more of, what's working well, what we're going for here, and Caroline, feel free to jump in if there's anything specific you want to say, but like what we're gathering with here, we're really hoping to inform and have this point us, like when funding opportunities come up, we could say, well, our community said we need more of X, Y, or Z thing for this population or this type of service. This is really a way to gather data so that when opportunities come up, we have some guidance about which way we as a system of care should go.
I think you captured it, Jamie. It's
okay.
kind of just an initial, just kind of understanding the landscape. I mean, we're certainly going to take deeper dives and do a lot of analysis and kind of community gatherings, but
Great.
This is just all initial. Thank you.
Great. Yeah. Then the second 10 minutes is going to be thinking specifically about like housing and support services. So what do we need to see more of? What do we not have at all? What's working really well that we want to like, you know, expand? And then the third 10 minutes, and I'm going to cue you when it's time to move on to the next thing. The third one is going to be specifically around employment and educational resources. And again, the lens is transition aged youth experiencing homelessness. What does this specific population need? What do we want to amplify in that particular category? So what I'm going to do, and sorry, so then the kinds of questions to just think about for each of these categories. And there may be other questions you come up with, but like, what do you want to see more of? What should we be looking at to fund better, create new, maybe modify? And like, what do we know about what works well for this population? And so I'm gonna, when I break you into groups, you are going to, we're gonna like put in the questions and stuff so that you don't have to, you don't have to think too carefully. And I'm going to break you into 5 groups. So that's about 8 people per group. I am going to then, you'll be in your group. You're going to answer these different sets of answer questions for these different groups. We're going to be having you capture on that same Jamboard. There is a page for special population. So let me actually just show you my slide so that this makes sense when we get there. I'm not trying to make it too complicated, I promise. So when you go to the Jamboard, you're at this first page. Up here at the top, there's this little slider. So the first and all the groups can be putting their comments or their post-its on this one page. If we want to, it's okay if they overlap. So first 10 minutes, looking at this population, then you do a slider. The second 10 minutes will be going to this page. And then the third 10 minutes will be going to this page. Does that make sense? Does anybody have questions? I'm not seeing anything. Gina, if you see anything, let me know. Okay. So what I'm going to do is make 5 breakout rooms. And I'm gonna, you're just gonna get sorted into whatever room you want. I'm sorry, whatever you're gonna get sorted, you say, yes, I'm gonna join that room. And then I'm gonna broadcast a message to all of you about what to do.
Thank you, Jamie.
And I'm gonna send everybody a message. Jamboard. I'm gonna set a timer. I'm gonna hang out in the middle in case you get stuck. You can always come back. And as we're moving back, the people in the main room that stuff not gone to the room. And just log in separately. Yes. Oh God. This is why we have multiple brains on this team. This is exactly why. So I have questions, like somebody said Contra Costa Regional Center. Oh, sorry, I was thinking Regional Health Center. Regional Center, yes, that makes sense. So Regional Center provides services for folks that have disabilities, particularly developmental disabilities. Is there anything on here that people want to highlight?
LGBTQ services.
Yep.
I believe, like, let's face the facts, right? We only have Rainbow Center.
Yep.
Through this whole county, right?
Yep.
And I would love to see those services expand because we need those services in Contra Costa County. So just figuring out a way to really support that population.
Yeah, especially when we look at the data, right?
Yeah, I want to echo that. I think that I've been thinking about this a lot recently, especially as being a trans person myself. The data reflects not a high population of trans people experiencing homelessness in our county, but I think there's a lot of barriers to collecting that, the clear data that we sort of work on. One major thing I think about, especially when it comes to LGBTQ youth, is, if you ask a youth if they're trans or if they're gay or if they're, if you ask them if they're part of that population, they're always going to say yes or identify themselves or out themselves, especially to people they don't trust. Or and so yeah, I think that having those dedicated services there would be, and working on that more would be lovely. And especially for my experiences in the context of trans youth, receiving access to treatments that might be life-saving. And sometimes a lot of trans youth, experience mental health issues and very severe ones because they're not able to access those treatments. And for myself and my experiences, I couldn't afford my treatments when I was experiencing homelessness. And that was a really big barrier for me to get everything going. So I wanted to echo that.
Thank you, Juno. We love having you in this conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Juno. You're amazing and I miss you.
Jerry, I see your hand up. Oh, you're muted.
Got it. Thank
There
you.
we go.
So in my group, I mean, we talked a lot, but one of the things in general that came up for us in multiple areas, including the LGBTQ youth plus youth population, and also youth with disabilities and youth on the spectrum, is that the way many services are structured is there's the standard processes, procedures, and I hate like saying standard, but I think we all are kind of, and then what happens is that people that from the LGBTQ community, there's one of them in that group, or there's one person with this kind of disability, or someone on the spectrum, or there are two of them, and they sort of get all crammed in as if the standard processes should be the same for everybody. And I think maybe one of the things we should start addressing is, can we have, and how can we, if we can, how can that work, where we have specific populations being their additional needs being addressed, right? Like parents. Right? If you put a person, a parent and a child with a child into a program where there are 7, or in a housing site with 7 who have no children, it's a whole different ballgame for that person with the child. So it's sort of figuring out, can we do that? Can we create our system so that they're put together without having it be, oh, you're part of that group, right? The onus of it, there's an onus there too. So that was something that we went around a lot about, is like, we know there's a need for it, how to do it, I don't know, but that did come up as part of our conversation.
Well, and to your point, like, we lumped all of them together for the purpose of this exercise. Like, yes, exactly. Which, like, these groups may have nothing in common besides having some specific needs or needing things to be tailored in a particular way, but how it gets tailored might be completely
So
different.
it's like, oh, they're all former foster youth. That's what they all have in common. So that's where they go. It's like, well, yes, and right. It's not a but, it's a yes and.
Right. There's just not enough. That's one of the big things that comes up here. I mean, me and my counter, people we partner with in the community to help house these folks, like, there's just not enough for parenting youth. I mean, we only have one. And we're the one program that accepts just straight up homeless youth and former foster care youth. So we have former foster care referring to us, but we also have straight up homeless youth with their kids in the community. And there's just one unit for them,
Well, and I think to jump on that, Tamara, is part of the problem is then transitional age youth have to enter into and operate in the adult system of care, and they're accessing programs that are towards adults or operating at an adult level. And so they face that difficulty of functioning, handling CalWorks and EHSD and all those things as a 20-year-old with a child.
Right. And that's one of the most difficult things about working with the few parents that I've worked with is, like, it's a process. So it could be a month and a half, even more, before I could get them into CalWorks, get them into these programs, that get them rapidly rehoused, and then open up my unit for someone who needs more life skills, right? And needs that extra care, right? It's one of the more difficult things that I have had to work with since being at Pomona. So.
And like I was telling my group with with the parenting youth, is a lot of the times it's like, who has the best sob story for the provider, right? For the child care provider, right? And that's not right. Like, we got to give some services to our parents where it's accessible to all, and it's not who has the worst luck out of everybody, right? So it's hard. And then also, just piggybacking off what somebody said, youth with disabilities, we're seeing a high increase in autistic youth, right? And we don't have no vouchers. We don't have no permanent supporting besides permanent connections, and we know how that goes, right? So trying to find a way to really help the youth with severe disabilities to maintain housing with a voucher, whatever is needed,
I have a question about that, what you were just saying about youth with disabilities. To my knowledge, because my son has a disability. What about the regional center? Every young person should be with the regional center. I guess till the age of 22, if I'm remembering correctly.
I've referred to the regional center from crisis, from shelter way back when, and it's really difficult to get in if you haven't hit that system when you were, diagnosed with that disability. Corey wanted to say something about housing for folks with disability too, so I'm going to hand it off to him real quick.
Yeah, I totally agree with that we need more. During my whole time as a participant in the program, I was on disability myself, and I found that I wouldn't be able to support myself fully on it unless I was able to get a voucher or get into a program where it's like 30%. But through the whole time, we weren't able to obtain a voucher. So eventually I had to come to the realization that I have to work full time to be able to support myself. So that's what I'm doing right now I get half of my disability and working. But you got to do what you got to do sometimes when the resources aren't there.
But in line with that, I'm going to add something else. It also, we discussed this in our group, is we know that, many of the youth that we're serving can eventually, right? They're on their own timetable, become self-supporting and stable, but everyone's level of stability is different. and everyone's capability is different. So these are things that we know there are youth. A lot of these programs, like, the former foster care programs are, 2 or 3 years, and then another 2 or 3 years, and then you're out. And then you go into the adult care, right? The adult system, homelessness system. So it seems to me that if there's some way we can sort of recognize those again who may who's, sorry, I don't want to say never, whose highest level of capability is a part-time job, has to live with a case manager always. If we know that at age 19, then it saves that person a whole lot of hell in their lives, from getting bounced and bounced until somebody realizes it when they're 35 years old and have done a ton of self-medicating and been homeless and housed and sheltered and homeless and sheltered and housed and incarcerated and all of that. If there's some way we can sort of start addressing that, because we do have really skilled medical people working with these youth. Some of you are. I'm not. I'm the development director, so my job is to talk about this stuff and know about it. But I just keep thinking there has to be some way, we can start really getting people to their highest level of capability, no matter what that is, and letting that be where they get to be.
Right. I mean, I guess that's kind of the point of CCYCS, is we're here to stabilize, connect to resources, build the life skills up they need to be independent and move them forward. But that could be really difficult if we do have a client that's more disabled than others. We've been very successful at it, but it gets difficult, and then there's just not enough space, to be honest. There's just not. And I mean, that's what we do. We get them ready to be independent and move them on into their own spots, and we don't charge them anything, but this isn't forever. So unfortunately, I'd keep all of them if I could.
Yes. Serene, I saw your hand up.
Thanks, Jamie. I am also noticing too at this age group, a lot more have schizophrenia. So possibly more assessments on their medical, more of an assessment on their behavioral mental background, medical, because we're wet shelters, it's really important to know what their behavioral disorders are, because of us being a wet shelter. We've already had to use our Narcan twice. And so, again, this is the age group, and we all know drugs are a lot more different now. And a lot more, this is the age group, unfortunately. So awareness, and also just keeping that in mind and letting them know, and also for all of us, what it looks like and how we could better assess our youth. Kind of like being proactive before it happens, if we can.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Are folks ready to move on to the housing and support services? Great. So anything folks want to add here or highlight that your group talked about that you think we should be reminded of?
I was interested in my group's discussion on permanent supportive housing for youth. I know that PSH is a really prioritized part of the services we offer, and I know that changes to funding structures there can have lasting and domino effects on, then you have to end up removing the supportive part of the permanent housing, or the permanent part of the permanent supportive housing, and that changes the intentionality of the programs substantially. I guess the main question I had is this might not be something that's exactly something to discuss here, or maybe in future meetings, but what are the barriers from programs being able to create a structure that's permanent supportive housing for youth, and what does that look like when that youth transitions out of their their age, the age group of 18 to 24? Would they keep that permanent supportive housing? Yeah, I think it's just things to think about, but I wanted to highlight that our group talked about that a bit.
I can speak to that a little bit, Juno. For the permanent supportive housing that we have for youth now, the Permanent Connections program that Tamara was referring to, that one is, yes, permanent, and they just have to come in at the right age, but they obviously can continue on, and it can be permanent past that transition age youth age group. And then with that program, because it's serving transition age youth, we know that they often don't have that chronic homeless status. So they have some flexibility in the youth that they can serve, and they don't have to meet the exact rigid definitions that they have to meet in these other adult programs. So I think that's one thing that's helpful.
Yeah, so PC is permanent unless you have two major life changes. You want to get married, you can't move anybody into a unit, and if you have a child. So you could stay in permanent connections until your child turns 5, but after that, you get transferred to more of like a HUD voucher. And that's one of the things that Corey also wanted to explain, was that he got a disability voucher by miracle, but could not keep it because he had SSI and had to be on GA, and you can't have GA and have SSI. So yeah, so it's one of those struggles, like, but this kid's disabled. He's been disabled all this time, you know, like, and unfortunately, he just aged out of PC range by the time I had they had an availability for referrals. So that was a sucky thing, but he's doing well. So it's okay. Everything happens for a reason.
May I ask a question? For these youth who you're talking about with disabilities, is there something missing that they weren't caught back in high school or elementary school, that they weren't like
system since I was 5?
Yeah, I've been.
So these guys are both saying that they've been in the system since they were little, in and out of facilities, as well as in and out of DJJ. These guys, unfortunately, some of the things that happens is, like, when a kid is supposed to be placed as like an AB 109 to get more support services, sometimes that paperwork doesn't get done. And so then they don't qualify for these things. Or, you know, and then there's struggles, there's general struggles, like they both of these guys here have had a long journey of accepting the fact that they need to make sure that they take care of and mind their own disabilities, right? We both, all three of us went on that journey together to make sure we became stable. But early on, if these things aren't caught or they're not dealt with in the proper channels, then, you know, we end up dealing with it later and hoping that we can make that work. Because there's some clients, unfortunately,
not everyone has someone that's going to go out their way for them too.
Right. Sad. Exactly. These youth who have been in DJJ or been in the different facilities throughout the country, actually, you know, may not get the same care, that individualized care that I would provide, you know, that one-on-one.
Well, and sometimes it takes a very long time to build enough trust to go after some of these particular needs and challenges. It's not, oh yeah, hi, I'm a great person, I'm going to take care of you. I've heard that 32 times before. It'd be, you know, from the time I was 7 to 18.
Precisely. I found moving into the TOPs, like, building that trust does not take as long as it does in crisis and like the shelter. You know, but once these youth meet me, I make it very clear to them, and this is kind of my case management style, like, as long as you and I can have a mutual respect and communication with one another, you're never going to walk alone in this world again. And that's where we start that process. That's from jump. When they meet me, that's what they are told. Because I don't give up unless you royally mess up. I'm not going to give up. So, you know, but at that time, like, that's one of the things that one of my co-workers taught me when I first started in this business was, you know, at that time, like you come in and, you know, by the time it gets to that point, especially here at the TLPs, these guys have even been set down by me before. And so is Juno. They know what time it is. They can't be mad at me. Like, they already know. They already know, like, hey, there's consequences. Like, let's learn from this. Let's do better.
And also, I think it's important to keep in mind how many high schools, how many programs have just pushed these youth along, right?
Right.
And haven't even taken the care of mental health or disabilities or anything like that. I see it in the high schools a lot where it's just literally pushing them to the next grade and then, hey, this is what you got, right? So I think service providers, we have to just be there for our clients, right? Permanent supporting housing for me, and I think almost every other service provider out here, we need more than permanent connections. We do. We need vouchers. We need things that are going to allow our high risk youth to really make it in life.
More residency.
Right. Yeah, I would wholeheartedly echo and agree with that.
From the people that half the people that you see spun out there, they was out there since teenagers.
Right. And Majestic is saying like half the people that you see on the streets that have these mental issues or AOD issues, like they've been out there for a really long time.
It didn't just start like that.
It didn't just start. It started from a system where they were just being pushed through is what Majestic is echoing.
Exactly. I also want to say thank you to you youth for participating.
Yeah, for sure.
Sir, you're welcome.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
As Joe likes to say, nothing about us without us, right?
Darn right.
I just want to do a time check. We have about 10 minutes left. I want to just do a check-in around the employment and educational piece. Anything people want to add, say, highlight in this section? I see Fernandez. Yes. I mean, yeah, O'Neill. Hello. O'Neill.
So something I just want to put out there first. I was kind of in and out when we were putting this together. SOS Richmond is just recently starting our own, we're going to call it a youth ambassador thing. We're connecting with Richmond Works or Richmond Youth. And we are just in the last month and a half, we've hired 5 new youth participants. And, so I just want to put out to everybody that has any clients in the Richmond area, I'll put our neighbor Caroline in the comments. And if you have anybody that's looking to get employment, please send them our way and we can either connect them with the SOS Richmond Works, or we can just, if they don't want to work with us, we can help them get into the Youth Works here in Richmond. So I'll put the neighbor Caroline for everyone if anybody has any clients out here.
Thanks, O'Neill. Love it.
Is there an age range on that?
Well, so Youth Works, the age range is from 16 to 30.
Damn.
So, yeah.
That is, there you go. Come work at the boat shop.
And so, and like I said, I would love to have everybody, we hire directly out of encampments. Everyone that the last 5 guys, we've really taken out of an RV or taken out of a tent and provided a job. Some of them have got into transitional housing. But yeah, whether you want to work with us or just with Richmond, youth, the Youth Works, it's all the way up to 30. So they give you a lot of opportunity to find work through that.
Felix, then Jimmy, then Jerry.
Okay, I'll make it quick. First, huge shout out to Richmond. They are ahead of the game when it comes to working with the youth. Richmond Works is amazing. So continue to work with them. And for me, it's just, we need more services. When I first started in this field, we had East Bay Works in every county. In every city. That gave us like a direct office. We don't have that no more. And we need those services back in line. WIO is amazing, but we need a service that accepts everybody, not just based off application.
Thanks, Felix. Jimmy, then Jerry.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jimmy Ramirez. I'm a researcher with the Rainbow Community Center and a planning commissioner. Yes, go Rainbow. Happy Pride, everyone. And I'm also a planning commissioner with the city of Oakley. I've worked at the California Homeless Youth Project before, and much of my research looks at how, youth homelessness around and the as it touches on hunger and community college rates. So like our community college students, I mean, all the folks on this call know, going hungry and unhoused. And one model I really just want to bring to this brain trust is a safe parking program. So Long Beach has one, and basically I'd love to see Los Medanos, other institutions have safe parking programs where unhoused TAY or youth who are living out of their car do not have to face police discrimination or harassment from other folks. So I linked in there's a FAQ on the safe parking program, but how we can keep our youth who are pursuing community college here in Contra Costa safe. Happy to connect if anyone is super passionate about this stuff. Thanks again.
Thanks. I added that as a thing on here. Jared.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I just took my hand down because I thought you were going to like at the same time. Anyway, I don't see up here, and maybe I'm just not reading it well, is social enterprise job development programming. So again, we know that a lot of the youth we have like no history of anyone being employed that they know. So it's not even teaching them how to work and having like guided, overseen social enterprise jobs so that they can learn, oh, you have to show up for work, in a safe environment because this is part of the community and those sorts of things, which are, I think, a critical step into being able to go out and, interview for jobs out in the world and learning that you have to get up and go to work every day, no matter how you feel, like grown-ups. So I just wanted to add that there. And Juma Ventures has a wonderful, wonderful example of how to do that. They have like
Did I spell that right?
franchise.
JUMA Ventures.
JUMA Ventures. Yeah, they have
Okay.
a franchise. They have a youth employment in at athletic stadiums and activities and sports events. Like 8 to 10 of the people you see working are youth in their program.
Hey, Jamie, I don't want to interrupt the
Oh, we're at time.
conversations we're having. Yeah, I just wanted to,
Yes.
maybe we want to move us on to our what's in the horizons.
This is why you're an awesome facilitator, because you're tracking that.
Oh, thank you.
So what I want to share, hold on. That's great. So, and Caroline, if you're still here, this is an opportunity. If there's anything you want to say about any of the upcoming opportunities that might be happening. So you talked a little bit about YHDP. Again, this is sort of specifically around like youth oriented.
Yeah, I'll just kind of summarize through the Tipping Point project. It's really provided us seed funding to start piloting and looking at some programming to meet some of the needs and gaps in our community, and ultimately, apply and put on a strong application for YHDP. I think guaranteed income and shallow subsidies is kind of what we've been looking at and kind of other communities have been looking at, and we're actually hoping to pilot with some of the Tipping Point funds and take what we learn and put forth in YHDP. So, and I know there are other guaranteed income pilots right now going on in Contra Costa County. I know there's one in Richmond and now in Concord. So all, all of this is happening kind of just as we also look to improve and build our capacity for our youth homeless system. So I see some hands up and a lot going on in the chat, but yes, looking forward to reconnecting with everyone.
Yeah, feel free, anybody, to drop your email or contact information in the chat. These kind of connections we create in these spaces helps us do all this work even more efficiently. So feel free to drop any contact information there, and feel free to reach out to everybody else.
Felix, is that a new hand up or an old hand up?
It's a new one, just real quick, because I'm part of the COP with Caroline. I've been in this field for 13 years. This is the first year I've seen communities, counties from across Northern California come together. Right? For me, that is like so motivating, because we actually have people from different counties coming together and putting their brains together and trying to find solutions. So I know this work can be very, very hard at times, but no, there's a lot of progress being made, kind of like behind scenes, but I see the progress being made.
That is the spirit that we want to end on. I thank you all for your time. Juno, I'm going to turn it over to you for the last bits. I don't think I have anything extra to add. We're going to have a recording of this and the slide deck that we're going to post and send out, by the way.
Lovely. Thank you, Jamie. And thank you, everybody who participated today. So much lovely discussion. It was so great to hear from the Youth Action Council and some of our lovely council members. Everybody is doing awesome work, and it's really lovely to be able to be in a space together and check in and share all the work we've been doing. This is how we improve, and keeping these lines of connection and networks is really important. So thanks everybody so much for being here today. And I think with that, we can probably close the community meeting. Thanks everybody.
Thanks presenters, especially Party Majestic.
Thank you.
And lovely discussion in the breakout groups.